Welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. It is April 6, 2019. Beautiful weather here in Denver, Colorado today. I must admit, if you're out at the Rockies game, if you're able to catch a baseball game where you're at, getting out of the house, doing something active, taking a walk, walking the dog, getting groceries, enjoy life today. The weather is beautiful. I must say, I'm glad to be back with everybody. Missed you guys last week, of course. Did not do a show last week. I was with my daughter. We were downtown here in Denver as she was participating in her National History Day paper competition. And she did well. She did not place. This was not a contest she knew she was entering. She had written a paper for her Colorado history class on the Stanley Hotel here in Colorado. And next thing she knows, her teacher had approached her and said, I submitted your paper into this contest. She knew nothing about it, but she did well. All her marks were high. All her marks were excellent or above. So she did great. It was a great experience. We got to hang out downtown, see the museums, look at some of the other presentations, and even ran into some people that we knew that were also participating in this competition. So it was fun times. It was good to hang out with my daughter, and took her and her little friend out to lunch afterwards. So it was a good time. It was well worth it spending that father-daughter time together. But I'm back this week. We got lots to talk about. I got my first round mock draft. I'm not going to do a complete mock draft like everybody else does. I did do a first round mock draft. I did a 7-round mock draft for the Lions, just for fun, for my Lions community, my Lions family that's out there. That's one pride, that's one love. Always rep the Lions first. So we got that going on with the mock draft. We'll also get into the AAF. It has been disbanded. It is dead. It is no more. Finite. And there's all kinds of storylines and rumors and opinions out there. I'll give you mine. We'll talk about some of the reasons we should have seen this coming, some of the reasons something like this needs to be fixed so that it doesn't affect other startups in the future. Wrestlemania 35 is this weekend. The WWE Hall of Fame inductions get going this week. Major League Baseball is back. It's back. It's back. Now we've got 162 games before it gets good. NBA is wrapping up. The NHL is wrapping up. The Final Four is going on. So let's get into it. It is the mock draft time. Let's break it down. Now, I did my mock draft at a site, the Draft Network. Check them out. It's free. It's a fun little way for you to go in and do projected mock drafts for your team, for other teams, for all the teams. You can do it based on position ranking. You can do it based on what their site analytics have as the predictive pick. You can do it auto. You can do it manual. It's a fun little site to play with. I haven't really seen anything on the site that would allow you to make trades while doing your draft, so that is one drawback as far as I'm concerned. But it's a fun site, the Draft Network, and that's where I did this mock draft. Now, in my mock draft, I did some silly stuff, some fun stuff, some stuff that only the Raiders would do. I took some picks that, you haven't heard, some picks you've definitely heard. But it's a little mix of everything. I could see it breaking down this way. I don't think 100%. I'm convicted. I'm going to put my stamp of approval on it and go, this is how it's going to happen. No, it's a fun little way to see how, as you're breaking down teams, who will this team pick? Who would you pick for this team? Who might be left at the end? And it's not going to be the same for everybody. That's why all the pundits have it different. That's why every radio show has it different. That's why all of us out there have a different version of what we think is going to happen with this. This is just mine. Take it for what it is. Blow me off. Go to the website. Write me a message about what I got wrong, what you like. RealDealSportsTalkWithKP.com. There's a nice little fat link on the first page right there. It says Get at KP. You click on that link, you fill it out, you send it to me. You want me to get back to you, put your email address in it. Or text the show. The text line's on there as well. You can find all that information. You can find our friends of the show, see what they're up to. Vance Johnson, Marcus Ogden, Dr. Chad Nash, the Barbarians. It's a great site. Check it out. Always in development, always trying to get better. If you guys got ideas out there of what you would like to see on the site, for sure, let me know. And I'm always looking to start doing some more video projects. So if anybody out there wants to get on, help me with that, reach out with that as well. All right, mock draft time. First round mock draft. We did all the talking. I've done all the talking. I built it up a little bit. Gave it a big, nice, long intro. Still giving it an intro. Here we go. First pick, Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray. Now, I'm on record on this show of saying I think Kyler Murray is going to be drafted by the Oakland Raiders. Does Oakland move up to one? I don't know. But right now, Arizona Cardinals are kind of holding this whole draft situation hostage as to the way it's going to break down and who's going to be drafting who, in my opinion. Because we've heard this talk about Josh Rosen being traded for a long time. We've heard people are making offers for Josh Rosen. The Cardinals are saying, hey, we are not actively shopping anybody. We expect him to be at team activities. Okay. We all think it's going to happen. Most people believe it's going to happen. I'm convinced it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, does that open the door further for Kyler Murray to be drafted by the Oakland Raiders? I think it does. If they somehow keep Josh Rosen there in Arizona, that 100% opens the door for Kyler Murray to be drafted by the Oakland Raiders, like I think. Now, are there clear connections with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals? Of course. That's why I have him being taken first in my mock draft by the Arizona Cardinals. San Francisco 49ers, I have Nick Bosa going there. I think they are high on him. I think they would do another trade to get up one spot or back one spot if they thought they could get him at either way. So I think they're going Nick Bosa no matter what. Unless somebody completely blows them out of the water, I don't see San Francisco not taking Nick Bosa at 2. I have the Jets taking the edge player out of Kentucky, Josh Allen, at 3. He can play some linebacker for him, give him some pass rush. That defense was the strength of that team last year. It allowed the offense to kind of come around with their run game and didn't put too much pressure on Sam Darnold, allowing him to kind of develop in his rookie year. You add to that defense, make it even a bigger strength with a Greg Williams as your defensive coordinator. Now you got something going there. Oakland at 4, I have them taking, and this is my Oakland. This is a silly, only Oakland would do this type of a pick. I have the Raiders taking DK Metcalf, the wide receiver out of Mississippi, in that 4th slot. Nobody else has DK Metcalf going that high, and I understand why. If it was my team and I was the GM, I would not take DK Metcalf in the first 20 picks. But it's a very Raider thing to do. You add DK Metcalf to an Antonio Brown, all of a sudden you got a little bit of a receiving core going there in Oakland. I have Tampa Bay filling in their linebacker slot that they vacated with Devin White, the linebacker out of LSU. I think he's a lot of what they need there. He's fast. He's sideline to sideline. He's got some tackling ability, and he's got room to grow as a player. He's not a complete linebacker at this point, but would be a solid pick under Bruce Arians for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. New York Giants, I have Dwayne Haskins going there, the quarterback. I think there's a little bit of a smokescreen going on with the Giants and their willingness to admit whether or not they're looking at quarterbacks or willing to take quarterbacks. I think they are taking a quarterback until proven otherwise. They have 2 picks in the first round. I expect one of them at least to be a quarterback. At 7, I have Jacksonville taking Rashawn Gary, edge out of Michigan. You lose a Malik Jackson. You gain a guy who can play inside, outside, kind of help that defensive line that's a little bit longer in the tooth with a Calais Campbell. Allow him to learn from a Calais Campbell. Then you still have that young, athletic nucleus of a defense to help that power running game you're trying to build on the offensive side of the ball, to couple with Nick Foles' ability to go downfield. At 8, I have the Detroit Lions taking T.J. Hawkinson, a tight end out of Iowa. I think they're going to try and pair him with a Jesse James and maybe another tight end and help Matthew Stafford in the middle of the field a little bit, where Calvin Johnson used to dominate, of course. Well, he dominated all over the field. But giving more options in that passing game. Hawkinson can also block, helping the running game. They bring in C.J. Anderson this week to help out that running game, which I love that pick up. So Detroit with a tight end at 8. I also think they're trading back from 8. I was on record of saying that before Bob Quinn came out and said he's open for business. I've been on record saying that since the Super Bowl. Buffalo at 9. I have them taking Ed Oliver. I think that'll be a great pickup for them. Kind of the best player available at this point. They could go offense. You could see them try and go offense there. Maybe get a Fant, the other tight end out of Iowa. I don't see them going wide receiver that early. Maybe offensive line, but Ed Oliver would be a solid pick. Then at 10, I have the Broncos taking the defensive lineman out of Alabama, Quinnen Williams. They need help along the defensive side of the ball. They don't really have a lot of linebackers right now, so the stronger your defensive line can be, the more you can open up those edge players in Chubb and Vaughn that you do have to help the back end, which they're also developing there in Denver. Cincinnati at 11, I have them taking the tight end, Noah Fant. Their tight end's always injured. They're rebuilding. They're going to need a solid go-to guy, and I think that could be the one for Cincinnati at 11. Green Bay, I have taken the linebacker out of Michigan, Devin Bush Jr. Their linebackers have been injured recently. They got some guys on the front and the edge. You bring Devin Bush in, and he can play the middle linebacker position. That continues to bolster Green Bay's defensive side of the ball. They're getting young on that side of the ball. We saw the secondary picks they made last year. I think they go with the front that they've picked up in free agency the last 2 years. I think they go maybe linebacker here with their first pick in the first round. Miami at 13, I have Drew Lock, the quarterback out of Missouri, going there. Miami needs a quarterback, and with Haskins off the board and Murray off the board, he's the next best option in my opinion. Atlanta Falcons at 14, I have them taking Christian Wilkins, the defensive lineman out of Clemson, moves in, kind of helps that defensive line. Washington at 15, Brian Burns from Florida State. I know we've seen him mocked anywhere from the top 5 to 20. I think this is a solid pick. Put him with Kerrigan. You got 2 solid guys coming around the edge there with Preston Smith being out, gone to Green Bay. At 16, I have the Carolina Panthers taking Montez Sweat. I do think Montez Sweat is going to be affected a little bit by the heart condition. Now, we don't know the extent of the heart condition, but I do think that will drop him at least out of the top 10 because teams are going to be weary. But losing a Julius Peppers to retirement, Montez Sweat is a nice fit for the Carolina Panthers. The Giants' second pick, I have them getting Greedy Williams, the cornerback out of LSU. Secondary has been weak there for the Giants. They lose Landon Collins on the back end at the safety position. Janoris Jenkins getting a little long in the tooth. This would be a good time for them to pick up a corner and arguably one of the better corners in this draft. Minnesota, I have them taking offensive tackle out of Florida, Jawan Taylor. They lose Reimers this offseason. Their offensive line kind of let them down last year from the year prior. You have to protect Kirk Cousins. You have to give him time to throw the ball and get it to those weapons and Diggs and Thielen. I think they go offensive tackle in the first round. Tennessee could N'Keal Harry, wide receiver out of Arizona State, going to Tennessee, giving them a big target, giving whoever ends up playing quarterback there week to week somebody who's large with good hands and can make people miss. And N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State. Some people would say, why not Butler first? I just kind of like N'Keal Harry a little bit more. I think he's got a little more shift to him. And then right after that, I do have Hakeem Butler out of Iowa State, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 20. At 21, Seahawks, I have them taking Andre Dillard, the offensive tackle out of Washington State. Continue to protect your investment there in Russell Wilson. He wants a new deal by the 15th. He wants to be the highest paid player in the NFL. We'll see how that plays out. Quarterback contracts are a little bit harder than some other contracts to work out because of the money involved, because of the years involved. So we'll see how that gets worked out. But if they're extending him, they're going to give him that kind of deal. You got to have an offensive line. That they've kind of struggled there over the years. They've done patchwork and they've gotten by. This would be a solid pickup for Seattle. 22, Baltimore. I have them taking Joshua Jacobs, the running back out of Alabama. They're looking at running backs. They lose an Alex Collins. They don't get a Le'Veon Bell. So I think that's a nice spot. They like to pick up Alabama players. I know Ozzie Newsome has moved on, but I can see that being a nice fit for Baltimore at 22. 23, the Texans, Cody Ford, interior offensive line out of Oklahoma. You want to keep your quarterback Deshaun Watson healthy. He suffered that knee injury in his rookie year, had a good year last year, but let's keep it going. Let's keep that offensive line going. You've got some weapons there. You've got a running back there. Let's get the defense is solid. We'll see what they do with Clowney. He's more than likely coming back. You still have J.J. Watt. You still have guys like that coming into play there. So I like the Oklahoma offensive lineman for Houston at 23. Raiders at 24. This is their second pick. I have them taking Garrett Bradbury, the offensive lineman out of NC State. Their offensive line is weak. Bradbury can play center. He can play guard. And they need a little bit of everything there in Oakland. Philadelphia at 25. I have them taking the offensive tackle out of Alabama, Jonah Williams. He can play guard. He can play tackle. I think he can play left or right side. He is a little undersized, but he plays. He knows the position, and it's not about size when you look at the game tape. He gets it done. If you just want to look at measurables, yeah, maybe you don't take him to play tackle, but then you put the tape on and go, okay, the kid can play. Moving on, 26, the Colts. A.J. Brown, wide receiver out of Mississippi. I like him over the Brown out of Oklahoma simply because he's healthy. Okay? Marquise Brown coming out of Oklahoma. He's coming off the Liz Frank injury. We really don't know. I think it hurts his draft stock a little bit, but I still have him actually going in the first round. But I have A.J. Brown, wide receiver out of Mississippi, going to Indianapolis just to give them another target with Funchess, with T.Y. Hilton there in that passing game. Oakland Raiders at 27. And this would be a great get for them if they can get Kellen Farrell at 27, the edge player out of Clemson. Help that defense, again, get younger. I don't know Oakland actually takes 3 players in the first round. I expect them to try and do some wheeling and dealing, maybe end up with 2 picks out of the 3. Chargers at 28. DeAndre Baker, the cornerback out of Georgia. I know that a lot of mocks have him drop into the second round. He's actually my favorite corner in this draft over Greedy Williams because he's a little bit more willing to tackle. Ball skills similar. Size is the difference between the two. DeAndre Baker's not as tall. He's not as long as Greedy Williams is. At 29, I've got the Chiefs taking Byron Murphy, the cornerback out of Washington. Nice pickup there for the Chiefs. They could use top-end talent at the corner position. After Marcus Peters left to L.A., attitude, off-the-field stuff, conflict with the coaches. They decided to move on from his ability. Eric Berry is gone. Tyrann Mathieu is in. Let's work on that secondary a little bit on the back end. We don't know what's going on with Tyreek Hill yet. Maybe they go offense there. Green Bay at 30, that's where I have Marquise Brown going, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. If healthy, he's going to be a really good pickup and a really good fit with an Aaron Rodgers and a Matt LaFleur offense. Los Angeles Rams at 31, I have them taking Nasir Adderley, the safety out of Delaware, arguably the best safety in the draft. And then New England Patriots at 32, Jerry Tillery, the defensive lineman out of Notre Dame, as they have lost Malcolm Brown and some other players on their front 7 that they could use to replace there for New England. I could also easily see them trading that pick, leaving the first round and picking up picks somewhere else and, not even taking a first-round pick there for the Patriots. That's my mock draft. That's it. That'll be the one that I do before the draft. The next time we talk about mock drafts or drafts on this show, it will be because the draft is coming up. It'll be because it is April 25th through the 27th. We'll have some live Facebook Live stuff going on, live reaction to the first round, things like that come draft time. Won't be talking too much about the draft unless some news breaks between here and then. That is going to change the landscape of what's going on, like trades of picks, players, things like that could change the outlook of this year's first round and beyond, really. Okay, more football. This story broke this week, and for some people it was a chance for them to mock. It was a chance for them to put down. It was a chance for them to be hateful. But the AAF is disbanded. It is no longer. They have sent everybody a note. They have sent everybody a text message. They've left them stranded, what have you. They did not make it through their inaugural season. They didn't make it past a few weeks into their inaugural season before they needed help. And we were all under the impression beforehand that they were financially and ready to go for up to 3 seasons. That turned out not to be true. So were we misled? Is somebody skimming money off the books? Is this bad business? Is this bad, does this all fall on Charlie Ebersol? What about Bill Polian? Bill Polian was hired to run the football side. He was hired to put the coaches in place. He was hired to put the right football people in place. And we were seeing that come to fruition. We were seeing that work. We were seeing guys play the game. We were seeing the coaches coach these guys up to the point that some of these guys have already been picked up by NFL teams after all of this went down. Now, I liked the idea of the AAF. I like the idea of there being a developmental league for the NFL. Not just college football, because I enjoy amateur athletics. I don't like the business side of sports. I'm on record on this show many, many times over of talking about that. I am not a fan of the business side of sports. I liked the idea of the developmental league, having a place where some of these guys who needed more reps, who needed to see the game a little more, who needed to develop, might have been back into the roster, might have been practice squad guys, might have been guys that have just been cut and, are trying to get a second chance. And they needed that place to play. They needed that NFL Europe. They needed the AAF. They need a place like that. Now, the XFL, they're still talking about how they're going to be changing the game and doing different rules and stuff like that. So I don't know how that game a year from now might transition to the NFL style of play. But what the AAF was doing very much did translate to the NFL style game. It was in an opposite side of the season. The NFL did not have enough time to put a full plan together, even if they wanted to get involved, from how fast this league crumbled. Couple weeks in, they need assistance. Tom Dundon, he steps in, $250 million. Here you go. Let's keep the league going. We've now heard the stories that Tom Dundon only put in his money because he wanted access to their tech. This is a guy who and they should have known who they were doing business with. Yes, he owns the Carolina Hurricanes. Yes, he owns a pro sports franchise. Yes, he's worth $1 billion or more. But how did he make his damn money? This is a man that made his money off of giving high-interest loans, car loans, to people who could not afford them, and then taking back their cars. That's how Tom Dundon made his money. So you come to a guy and say, I need you to bail me out. Give me a bail-you-out loan, just like these car loans. And he says, okay, no problem. I'm going to bail you out. I'm interested in that tech you got. I'm interested in your sports betting apps, because that is what interests me. That's what I think I could make some money on, is this new avenue of sports betting and what kind of technology you guys might be developing. So he takes it. He pays that $250 million, and then he does exactly what he does with those car loans when they default. I now take your stuff. I don't want it anymore. I'm not interested. The tech doesn't want to keep me going. It's not quite what I thought it was going to be. I'm going to cut it and run. I'm going to lose $70 million, but guess what? I could probably figure out a way to write that off. So he takes a $70 million hit. The AAF shuts down, and a whole bunch of people are screwed. Bill Polian's out there making his comments this week. We see Steve Spurrier's comments. We've seen different players' comments. And the fact of the matter is, Charlie Ebersol, this comes down on your shoulders. The business side, the financial side, getting this league to where it needed to be ready. Not getting this league in before Vince McMahon's did. But honoring your dad, Dick Ebersol's name. And doing this right so it doesn't affect other startup leagues is what your responsibility was, and that did not happen here. So you failed the players. You failed your business partner, Bill Polian. You failed the coaches. You failed the payroll people. You failed the officials. You have failed the accounting department. All of these people that signed up to be part of this league, that took jobs, that moved, that are living in hotels, you failed them by trying to be fast, by trying to be cute, by trying to be first, instead of trying to be right and doing it the right way and having the right things in place. You can't say on one hand, oh, we are financially stable for 3 years, and then a week or two into the season, we need a buyout. It doesn't work that way. You failed. Bill Polian did everything he could football-wise. He's out there saying the knowledge that he has that is being given to him, that we have the money to move forward. We were going to be financially stable in the future. We have a model in place. It doesn't add up. You can't say there's a model in place and we don't have enough money to function, so we need a buyout, and then basically sell the league to this person and not understand that's what you're doing, and then be upset that he goes, I'm not going to waste my money. Now, it's not right they left players stranded in hotel rooms. It's not right that these players put up their own credit cards and are getting thousands and thousands of dollars in incidentals put up because the league just disbanded. And maybe they're going to get a last paycheck. Sure, they made a little bit of money over the month or two. The championship game was going to be this month. Why not get through the championship game? Why do it now? Maybe that championship game would have brought in some more money. Maybe not have these teams practicing on high school soccer fields. This league, to me, from what has come out, was not truthful, was not honest, and was not ready. And was not financially stable for 3 years moving forward. It's no wonder Colin Kaepernick or some other guys didn't sign, because their people probably said, look, it's not worth it. They're not going to make it. And it wasn't because the jokes out there. It wasn't because of the haters out there. It wasn't because it wasn't the NFL or college football. It was because the business model wasn't right. The side that nobody likes, the ugliness, the money, the greed, the capitalism, wasn't right, and it hurt a lot of people. And it's too damn bad that that's the way it went down, in my opinion. And what's about to go down this weekend, for all you WWF, WWE fans out there, is the 35th Wrestlemania. Wrestlemania 35, 2019. Now, I grew up on wrestling. I grew up in the heyday of wrestling, in my opinion, in the 80s and the early 90s. Now, everybody has their own opinion. You know, my pops, he liked the wrestling from the 70s and the 60s. Kids now, they don't know much more than what's going on. History's not really part of it. But they got an event tomorrow night, WrestleMania 35. And it's got some intriguing matches. It's not Hogan and Warrior. It's not Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude. It's not Andre the Giant. It's not Rowdy Piper. It's not Macho Man. It's not the Legion of Doom. It's not the Hart Foundation. It's not these guys. But they've got some intriguing matchups this weekend. They've got the first ever female main event this weekend. Looking forward to that, as Ronda Rousey takes on Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Now, these three have been driving the WWE recently, in my opinion. Their storylines, their abilities, their feuds. And it's gotten a little ridiculous with the handcuff and being let out by police this week. And all three of them being F the McMahon family, and we're going to push back and all that kind of stuff they're doing with them. But it's going to be the top match, and deservingly so. These women have earned it. They've done the thing, and they're driving the show right now. It's a winner-take-all match. 2 titles on the line. Whoever walks away has both titles. Remember, they did this in the WWE, WWF years ago on the men's side when they absorbed the WCW and had the 2 championship belts. And they started having the Jericho won the first time, won both belts for the first time. And then different guys, and then finally they went back to 1 belt. Now they're doing the same thing with the female competitors. Brock Lesnar is taking on Seth Rollins. It's been announced this week that Brock Lesnar in August should be taking on Daniel Cormier in the UFC. So this could be an exit here in April for Brock Lesnar to go away and start doing his training for the UFC. It also could be another who cares Brock Lesnar match where he wins, and we'll see him in a few months down the line, and this championship belt doesn't really matter because it doesn't ever get defended. The performer is never available. And who really cares? So, honestly, I hope Seth Rollins wins this match. And the writers have, decided, let's let Brock walk away for a while. And we're going to continue to have now a champion who's going to defend the title week to week. So, there's that match going on. Other matches that are interesting. Daniel Bryan and his new vegan life, whatever, purity, green nonsense is taking on Kofi Kingston, a longtime guy who's never gotten a shot. Kofi probably doesn't walk out of this one with a title. Roman Reigns coming back from leukemia is taking on Drew McIntyre. Okay, two big guys, whatever. AJ Styles and Randy Orton, another kind of could be an interesting match, but it probably just another match. Triple H taking on Batista. He's coming back from his time being an actor. They never really got along when they were in the company all that well. Kind of had a falling out. That's where they're building the momentum for this match. I personally don't really think there's any beef there, but could be one of the more entertaining matches of the night. Could be one of the shorter matches of the night, but definitely not as short as the Brock Lesnar match will be, because he just can't. He has no stamina. He just doesn't. He's beat red 10 seconds into competing, and then oftentimes he has to take a 10-minute break in the middle of the match while everybody else is doing all of the interesting stuff. But definitely going to be a short match there. Bobby Lashley taking on Finn Balor. He's bringing back the Demon. That could be a good one. I expect Finn Balor to get that Intercontinental title. The United States Championship is up. Rey Mysterio and Samoa Joe. So there's a lot. Women's Tag Team Championship, they were just crowned a few weeks ago. Sasha and Bayley, they're taking on Beth Phoenix and Natalya, and Nia Jax and Tamina, and the Iconics. So this is a 4-way tag team match for the women's tag titles. The Miz taking on Shane McMahon. Kurt Angle in his farewell match taking on Baron Corbin. Anybody else would have been better for that match than Baron Corbin, but whatever. SmackDown titles, that is a 3-way tag team title match? Nope, 4-way tag team title match there. There's too many titles. Raw tag team title match. Revival against Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Cruiserweight championship match, Buddy Murphy and Tony Nese. And that's on the kickoff show. Also on the kickoff show, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. The Women's Battle Royal is on the kickoff show. So a lot going down with the WrestleMania 35 this weekend, including the Hall of Fame inductees. Roddy Piper's getting a statue. He's already in the Hall of Fame. Degeneration X as a tag team or group is going in. The Honky Tonk Man gets in. Tori Wilson, she gets in as a performer/manager type. Harlem Heat gets in. Sudi Atchison, a longtime employee, she's going to receive the Warrior Award. The Hart Foundation's getting in. Neidhart, Jim the Anvil, posthumously, unfortunately, but they're getting in. And Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I like seeing the classics and the legends getting in. It's a little weird to see all of Degeneration X getting in, because at one point I think they had 6-7 members or some stupid shit like that. And honestly, not all of them meant that much to wrestling. Not all of them were that great performers. Road Dogg, take it or leave it. Six Pack, take it or leave it. Billy Gunn, he could have been better, but kind of, I don't know what his issue was. Great tag team competitor, but eh. And then you got Triple H, Shawn Michaels, guys like that we're going to be in anyway. So if you're into it, check it out. Nostalgia for me. I'm always going to be the nostalgia when it comes to wrestling. I still will follow it because of that nostalgia and growing up on it. But it's all good as far as that goes. Major League Baseball is back. Not just WrestleMania 35 around the corner, but Major League Baseball is playing right now. We're about a week in, and it's been amazing to see some of the stuff that's going on. The Red Sox just can't figure out how to win. The Dodgers. Can anybody stop the Dodgers right now? I mean, they're hitting more home runs than some teams have hits. They've got players with more home runs than some teams already, and they're playing some good ball. Milwaukee Brewers are playing some good ball. Christian Yelich is raking right now. Cody Sellinger for the Dodgers is raking right now. San Diego Padres are in second place in their division right now. The Rockies can't find it. The Cubs aren't getting it done. They're sitting there like Boston, just like, what are we doing right now? The Phillies 5-1. Nice little start there for the Phillies with what they did in free agency in the offseason. Mariners 7-2, getting it done there in Seattle. And, definitely we're not a team that anybody was looking at this early or at all to be leading the division. 10 games in for some of these teams. Houston's sitting there. And I get it. Long season, marathon, all this nonsense we hear about baseball. But you start to see trends. It's not 2 games in. We're not 1 game in. We're a week in, week and a half in. Some of these teams have played almost 10 games. So you can start seeing, okay, where do they need to make adjustments? Where do these coaches need to take these teams? And I'm glad it's back. I'm looking forward to seeing some games with some different, buddies of mine. Maybe my pops this summer. Take the family out to a game or two. And I'm glad baseball's back. It's a long season. You can check in on it here and there unless you're a die-hard fan. And then it really picks up in September and October, obviously, when it gets down to the thick of it. But baseball is back. Early in the season, you can't really look at pitching and go, oh, here's a pitcher that's standing out too much, because most of them have the same amount of wins. Most of them have a low ERA at this point. But you can look at the batting and go, wow. Cody Bellinger, 16 RBIs and 6 home runs already on the season. Leads all of Major League Baseball in both of those categories, just raking it. Yelich, he has 10 RBIs and 4 home runs. Chris Davis has 5 home runs on the American League side. Yohan Moncada's hitting 458. William Ramos is hitting 478. It's great. I love seeing the big numbers. I love seeing how teams come out of the block. I thought the Rockies had a better chance of winning the West than it seems like they do. The Dodgers are a pretty solid team, and if they in any way can even keep this momentum going for a month here or a few weeks here and then a few weeks there, they're going to be real hard to beat in the West. They've been to the last 2 World Series, and it seems like this team is kind of hungry. So we will be watching Major League Baseball throughout the year. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about it throughout the summer. It'll give us a lot of storylines, a lot of games, a lot of players. So baseball is back. While baseball is back, we've got sports that are wrapping things up. NBA is wrapping up. The NHL is wrapping up. Most of the teams are set. You got a little wiggle room still with some of the placements. Giannis, in my opinion, with what he did to Joel Embiid the other day, has solidified and sealed up the MVP. I know James Harden is doing his thing. I know Russell Westbrook has 3 straight years. He has averaged a triple-double. 3 straight years averaging a triple. That is unbelievable. The other night, calling your shot 20-20-20 for my boy Nipsey Hussle. Unbelievable. Only other player to get those numbers, Wilt Chamberlain, ever. Not Michael Jordan, not LeBron James. Russell Westbrook, Wilt Chamberlain. That's it. And he called it like he was Babe Ruth pointing for a home run. And he did it for his guy. He did it with heart. So that was amazing to see. You've got in the standings right now, Milwaukee, they're going to get home court. Can't nobody catch them. They got it locked up. The Eastern Conference is going to come down to probably one of like 4 teams, one of the top 4 teams. I don't think Indiana with the injuries, Orlando, Brooklyn, or Detroit. Miami, maybe they squeak in. Maybe they can get Dwayne Wade into the playoffs for his last season. Over these next couple games, we'll have to see. Detroit's going to have to fall back. Miami's kind of going to have to win out. But Milwaukee's going to have the best record. They should have the MVP. Toronto got beat again on a last-second shot the other night. Denver picks up that win on Portland last night. That was a big win for them to get that, staying in that second slot with Houston nipping at their heels. They do have Portland again, then Utah and Minnesota to fill out. So Denver's going to have to continue to play strong. However, they do solidify that division title by beating Portland last night. So the divisions in the Western Conference are all set. You still got one more division on the Eastern Conference side that needs to be decided. Right now, if the playoffs kick off, you got to like some of the matchups. OKC, Denver, Golden State, San Antonio, just because of Popovich and Steve Kerr coaching against each other. That will be fun. Portland and Utah would be a good match. Probably the worst one would be Houston, LA. But it's all wrapping up. There's 3 games left. Regular season's done on Wednesday. Playoffs will start next weekend. And, sitting here in Denver, I was hoping Denver would get it last night. I wanted them to get the division. Now I need them to go ahead and finish these last 3 games strong, stay in that 2 spot, take on either a San Antonio, an LA Clipper, or an Oklahoma City, and move into the second round of the playoffs this year to make the jump, the leap you've made this year worth it. Not just to be some clown that can go out and everybody can go, okay, point, let me hate. We don't need that. We need to see Denver take that step. Why? Because they don't have that superstar. They have a team. They have a complete team. And when they play as a complete team, they're hard to beat. And if they're going to have some home court, they're going to be hard to beat. That's for sure. All right. Shaq has passed the baton. I'm calling Giannis the MVP. We'll see how it goes. You got the Final Fours kicking off today. You got the championships on Mondays and Tuesdays for the men and women. The NHL playoffs, we're going to talk about those next week once all of the seedings are set. You can check out the current seedings now. Most of the teams are set, but not all of the seedings. In Western Conference, Avalanche could still get to the 7. There'll be 7 or 8 depending on how it breaks out in these last couple games. And until next time, you know how we do. Just be real.
Yo, Denver City life living every night getting it. All I see is green like it's night vision. My sight's different. My type driven. These niggas risking a life sittings over white flipping, but I ain't with it. I'm light skinned it. My mind gifted, intelligence in my disposition, aristocratic image, and not to mention I'm nice with it. The ice drip over cardigan sweaters, tight fitting, white linen. This is the type of shit that entice women. The fly shit that I'm on is passing the sky's limits. Why it's not surprising to see that all of these guys live it. I vivid, solemnly swear the rhyme exquisite with the time I'm giving. My mind flying, defying physics. I stay smooth like sipping out of champagne flutes. Always way cool, but it ain't a thing, just a flame cruise. You lame dudes, this that shit that you can't do. That's why your main boo steady watching me how I make moves.
My hot city life got me way above the clouds. Paint the audience a picture every time I draw a crowd. I hold my weight with these bars, so make no mistake. I get to cooking like Chef Curry in Golden State. I'm motivated, I'm taking off moving vertically. Saying that they were seeing me lyrically, that's absurd to me. Virtually murdering MCs on purpose. Cutting their body parts into pieces is verbal surgery. You say you hot, but you ain't burning to the 3rd degree. Time to bring some urgency in the state of emergency. There's no comparison to us, that's way embarrassing. Making something from nothing like ancient Native Americans. Man, listen, I'm undergoing a transition. My transmissions are filled with nothing but ambition. No remorse on these rappers like a Roman force. Snuck into the game on these suckers inside the Trojan horse. No remorse on these rappers like a Roman force. Snuck into the game on these suckers inside the Trojan horse.